What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Nerd Cave, the one-stop shop for all the video games that you need to know. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined along with, he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows when you're bad or good, your neighbor, Tom.
That's it?
Yeah,
your neighbor, Tom?
Yeah, like you're a peeping Tom.
Oh, okay.
See,
I like the intro. I like the intro to that because it's like, all right, Santa Claus, and then it's like it kind of fell flat for me. Still like Ignacio Cortez, I think was the name last time.
Ignacio Ortega,
excuse me.
Okay, I'm sorry that you don't get the slow burn of this one. Okay, I'm sorry that you're not on the same level as I am with my names. Okay. I'm sorry, Tom. Peeping Tom.
Let's not use that too much. I'm sure Twitch will follow like report that. And it's like, get this guy. Hey, FBI, I know you're listening. Go get
him. Tom, you know who else are great and awesome people? Our awesome Patreon supporters. They went over to patreon.com. They sure are.
They help keep the lights on.
Yeah. Patreon.com/nerdcave. Our crew members are Brandon Hicks, Richard Newell, Daniel Sanford, Rushing Water Joga, Conductor Marilyn James, Martin Sager, and Brittany, the Granny B. Harrison. There you go. I felt like I was like announcing like a wrestling show there for a second.
Your lovely wife is giving you a hint.
I want you to use one. I couldn't find yours. I told you I didn't have them, and you're like, no, you totally have them. And I'm like, no, I don't. And you're like, totally have them. I'm like, send me. If you send me one, I'll give him one right now, since he doesn't like peeping Tom. I mean, Tom. He's just Tom.
Yeah, I'm not saying just Tom.
He's just Tom.
Like, like the robot from Toonami.
Yeah, no, you're like the creepy neighbor that like looks out through the blinds, like. It's like
the old guy from Family Guy, right?
No, not like that. I'm talking like, you know how like old people will like stare at you like through their blinds?
Yes. 100% yes.
You know what I'm talking about. Baby, if you will send me one of the names like on my phone, I will do that name, but I don't have the list that you sent me. That's what I'm talking about. He says Tom was the only friend on MySpace. My only friend on MySpace. Respect. Poor Tom. Mark Zuckerberg did him wrong. Okay. Since Derek didn't like it and he's all up in arms, we'll do another one.
It's like, and maybe it's to your own credit. You started out great, and then it's like every other week's like hit or miss. Like you have an off week, then a strong week, then this is one of your off weeks.
Okay, Tom. I'm one of your hosts, Zach Dykes, joined along with, he rocks a golden pinky ring and sells used cars like hotcakes, Mr. Lionel Lennon Lemon.
That one I like. So Lionel Lennon Lemon.
Yep.
Okay. I can deal with that one. That one I like.
Amy has Leon in here, but I made it Lennon because I read it wrong. But there you go.
Oh. Either one, Lionel, Leon, Lemon. Okay. You know what? Either one's fine.
I kind of like Lennon. Lionel, Lennon, Lemon. Yeah, that's what it is, guys. So
like the great Bob Ross used to say, there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents.
Happy little accident. All right, Lionel, Lennon, Lemon.
He's like, you changed it.
I did change it. I said, get off my lawn.
She can't. She lives with you. She's with you forever and ever.
What's the point of me saying that if you're not going to even do it the same way?
I'm looking at you too. See what I got to deal with, guys? I got Amy over here correcting me. I got Derek saying, no, that's not good enough.
Listen. Is it you? It's more like what she has to deal with.
Oh, it's what she asked. You know what? I'm gonna stop the stream. We're gonna keep. I'm just kidding, guys.
I was like, hey, that's your fault, not mine.
Guys, you can find the Nerd Cave on a variety of platforms such as Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. Watch us live each and every week for our pre and post show shenanigans, and go over to YouTube and watch the replay of our show. If you like bite-sized nuggets of gaming news, check us out over on TikTok. Search Nerd Cave Network on any platform and you will find us. So Derek and everybody else.
No. Lionel. It's Lionel.
Oh, Tom. Oh, Tom.
No.
All right, Lionel, Lennon, Lemon. Let's get into the gaming news.
Almost an hour into the show and we finally got the news.
This is how this works, man.
I know.
This is how this works.
Trust me. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw off your
do
groove.
you want to host?
No, you're fine.
I'll just
I'm
be
sorry.
the wisecracking person over here. I can do that too.
Oh, you do it well. Trust me. That's your first language some days.
Oh, guys, we're going to the one. Derek doesn't get to be on video anymore.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry, Dad.
Shh. You are dismissed if you keep this up.
Hi, Colin.
PlayStation news for this week. PlayStation partners with Discord and services to be integrated with Sony consoles starting early next year.
So, it's funny because, well, first of all, let me just say this is almost going to be like it's practically a permanent segment, PlayStation news. That's all, because it seems like PlayStation went from not saying anything to now they can't shut up. So now, it's like, I think the fourth show in a row where we've had just this segment on PlayStation news. But, it's ironic, right? And, you say down here that, from our, what was it? Where is it? From our very first conversation with co-founders Jason Citron and Stan Vishnevsky, I was inspired by their lifelong love of gaming and our team's shared passion to help bring friends and communities together in new ways. Empowering players to create communities and enjoy shared gaming experiences is at the heart of what we do. So we are beyond excited to start this journey with one of the world's most popular communication services. It's ironic, right? Because we reported on this 2 months ago that they were in talks with Microsoft to be bought by them. And then talks ended in April. And then all of a sudden they say, we're partnered with Sony. You know what? And I don't remember if they actually said this in the article, but I wonder if they turncoat because they didn't want to be bought, right? Like I didn't put in any of the news articles in this show, but one of the things that came out a couple days ago, was Don't Nod turned down a lot of acquisitions from multiple different people because they want to remain independent.
Yeah.
What if Discord was like, look, we kind of don't want to be bought. We still kind of want to be ourselves, but we'll partner with you. But Microsoft's like, shut up and take our money. Come be with us. Be part of the family. And Sony came in and was like, hey, you don't want to be bought. We don't want to buy you. We'll just partner with you. You give us some deals, some type of exclusivity thing or whatever, and we'll let you run your own ship. And they're like, sold. Deuces, Microsoft. So I wonder if, because it's funny that like not even a month later, Sony comes in and undercuts them and steals the rug out from under Microsoft and be like, got him. So
yeah, like it was like out of nowhere that this happened. Yeah. And I think it's kind of interesting. Like you were saying, like a lot of people don't want to be bought. It's like they don't want to have somebody over them. They just want to partner with, people that are doing a good job.
Right.
And
Marvel. Like Marvel's not giving it out to it. Like they're just going to studios that have a great idea, that are great at whatever vision they want to do for this game. And it's like, here, have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we saw with Star Wars with EA, they're just like not doing that again.
Nope.
But I think of it like like high school. So two people are talking, and it's like, okay, this might, and it's like, oh no, this person has bad BO. I'm not going to talk to them anymore. And it's like, hey, you know.
You know, if we're going with the high school thing, let's take it a step further. You know, you're the, you know, like you have the little like nerdy character, you know, like, or maybe not even nerd, but like not a popular kid and wants to talk to the cute girl. And the cute girl says, nah, I'm going with the jock.
Yeah. But I think it's going to be cool. You know, Sony, like all the consoles except for Nintendo. Nintendo's like online side of things is poor.
Nintendo's like, we're figuring it out, guys. We promise.
Yeah. But, you know, both PlayStation and Xbox have, you know, very solid, you know, communication side of things. But Sony being able to integrate Discord in it is going to bring a lot more people on to, I think, the platform because, you know, Murdoch talks about it all the time. You know, Discord is more of a PC side of things, and you know, bringing in more people, I think we're going to see a lot more people joining Discord. We're going to see a lot more people using it and getting used to having that kind of like team speak. You know, that used to be an old service, but like having that back and forth. So I'm very excited for it. You know, something that is, you know, more robust than what we've gotten in the past. So I think this is going to be a really good thing, and them not selling. I think that was my biggest concern with Discord getting bought by Microsoft is it's not really, you know, a positive thing for them. You know, like the co-founders might, you know, make a ton of money, but then you're not really going to have control over your product.
Yep.
You know,
it's like, do we want to have a lot of money to sustain or do we want to keep control? You know, and Sony's like, why not both?
Yeah. And I think about, you know, Bungie and Activision. We saw, you know, they got a lot of money from Activision, but it came with a lot of baggage and a lot of demands from Activision that you got to do it this way. You got to put a lot of microtransactions. You got to churn out content and everything. And as soon as they cut.
And 4 years later, they were like, peace.
Yeah, it was like, and the game has gotten so much better because of that freedom.
100%.
You know, and a lot of those things that were forced on it has been pulled out of it, and I think it's definitely seen a renaissance of it. Amy says, I do think it's smart to partner with Discord. Yeah, 100% agree.
And I, like I said, I meant to see if anything was said about it, but I really think it came down to them not wanting to be bought, but that was since they were at the time, Microsoft was the only offer on the table, and they're like, I guess they were like reluctant about it. But then Sony came in and like Gallant Knight at the last minute is like, we'll save you. We don't want to buy you. We just want to partner with you. And they're like, sold. But
it reminds me.
Also, you know, sometimes go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna make a Dragon Ball Super reference when Universe 2 like maidens were like getting beat up and then the knights came in and like saved them and everything. That's
perfect example actually. But it's also ironic too, because if you may not remember, but a few months ago, like PlayStation entered their communities feature. So I'm sure, you know, because mainly I don't know how the usage was with it, you know, in communities. You know, I know neither of us. I think I tried to start one, but then it never panned out to anything. But I wonder if this is like basically this is like shoehorning in like their replacement for communities. Like, hey, we will have Discord that's established and people use it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great because, you know, just like our server that we have, you know, it has a community, and there's several, you know, I don't even know how many servers on Discord, but you know, it's so diverse. It's, you know, built around games specifically or built around, you know, creators or whatever, you know, so there's so many different things that you can do with it. I'm just curious to see how it's executed on PlayStation. Like, how deep is it, you know, that sort of deal, because Discord can get kind of confusing at times.
Right. And well, we'll find out in the next couple months, because they said they're not going to start implementing this until beginning of next year.
So curious about that, but let's move on to our next bit of PlayStation news. PlayStation patent would allow players to call on experts in real time for helps and tips through their games. Yeah.
So this is interesting, right? Because in an age of YouTube and like just looking up clips, introducing this, but you know, I was thinking about this today, right, when I was putting together the show. it goes back to, you remember when Sekiro came out, Shadows Die Twice, won Game of the Year in 2019. You remember when it came out, like From Software, this isn't their first foray into this type of game style, right? They've had Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1 through 3, Bloodborne was their most recent one, and not to mention all the spin-offs that, you know, from other people creating their own version of this. But all of a sudden, Sekiro came out, and people were like, why is this hard? Why can't you make this easy? And it's like, where have you been? This is what From Software does. But I think this is like kind of a response to that. It's like, oh, you're having trouble with a certain part of the game, the certain boss fight, finding this or whatnot. We're going to call in an expert. Now, I wonder how that's going to work. Like, I'm sure, like, from the expert side of things, right? Like, is it just going to be like, can you live message something, like somebody? And how will that work? Or is it just going to pull up like tutorial videos? Like, they're going to pretty much have like a curated list of like the most popular walkthroughs or like strategy guides to this, like videos or whatever. And it's like, all right, you're having trouble with this? Here's our top search, like Google or whatever. And you can click on that and find and see if that helps or not.
Well, from the article that we pulled this from, players will be able to then request help from their consoles or mobile apps, with that request being sent out to experts who are available at the time. Someone describes the process of matching players as like hailing an Uber, and experts would be able to provide the info about player sessions, such as build, quest details, levels, loadout information, and more. And from the patent pictures that were in this article and everything, it's like a text message between the two or whatever, or it could be even a voice
like
card
support, you know.
And they even had like the player screen on there, and then on the bottom like left-hand corner was the expert talking to them, like a, you know, a little video chat saying, okay, you know, use this combo. And then it had like the combo that popped up on the side. So it seems like it's going to be pretty robust. It's not just going to be, you know, pulling up articles, trying to figure it out. I had a comment on TikTok because I put out a video of me talking about this. One of the guys said, let me pull it up real quick. He said it depends on how fast they respond, because if they respond fast, probably talking about would they actually use it. But if they take a while, then no. And I think that's a big thing, is like if there's an ease of use for this, I think it's going to be a good thing. But if it is a slow kind of burn to it, you know, trying to figure it out, then it's like, yeah, we just YouTube it. But, you know, like for games that just come out, then, you know, having an expert, is this going to cost anything is another question. Like, is this going to be a free service, or is this going to be something that, you know, is tied to your PlayStation account that you get charged for? Because, you know, I even made the comment in the video, like, this reminds me of the old Nintendo hotline that you would call, and they would charge you per minute, and these experts would have books of different games, and they would have to learn how to, you know, do all of these things, and they'd be reading all of this to that person and everything. So I'm curious to see how they implement this, and how effective it is.
Yeah, because that was going to be my thing I was going to touch on next, right? Is like, if you're going to have someone, like, not the same person, obviously, but someone on call, like, what's that going to look like? Like, if I'm playing at 3 a.m., can I just call up someone then? Or is it going to be just from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.? This is that time frame that you can reach somebody. And then if you don't hit that time slot, you're just on your own. Sorry, bud. But if you're going to do this, there has to be some like pay implementation afforded to this, right? Because I mean, unless it's like going to be somebody of like Sony's own internal like people that already work for the company, they're going to want to get paid for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't think they're going to be doing this out of the kindness of their heart, you know?
Yeah. Especially if you can do it through the mobile app, there's going to be in-app purchases for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I wonder if it's like, okay, you have to buy credits, or, you know, something like that. You know, you get so many credits for X amount of money or whatever. You know, it would be interesting to see. Murdoch said script-based game help, which would make sense, where it's like, okay, it's reading, because it already says in the article that they will be able to see your player session, like what you've been doing, build, your quest details, the level, your loadout information, and more. We don't have that in our manual. You know, it just, I'm curious to see like how much data they can pull to be able to say, oh, well, you know, that piece of equipment that you have right now is not as good as what is in your inventory right now, which would be able to get you enough health to be able to beat the boss, or it would unlock this, ability. Like I'm thinking about God of War. They use God of War as an example for this. Like a lot of times there were like trinkets or amulets or whatever, talisman, that's what they were called, that you would put into your armor that would allow you to have a special ability. And, like to activate like a little bit of a heal or to slow down time or whatever, like those things definitely change the feel of the gameplay and everything. So I think it's going to be like really interesting how this implements. And like I would be even willing, like once this comes out, to just test it just to see what this is going to be like, like how good is this going to be? How prompt, how knowledgeable, how effective will it be, and what's the cost to it?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I don't remember when they said they're gonna. I mean, it's just filing for a patent right now, so who knows? Sony's been filing for a lot of patents, like especially for VR. So we're gonna see how many of these see the light of day. Like I think they just want to have this secure and see and flesh it out more, trying to get more of an idea for a lot of these. And if it doesn't see the light of day, oh well, we'll just let the patent expire or come back to it if we come up with better tech, better ideas with it. But we'll see.
Yeah, and even Murdoch says they're going to be flipping through walkthroughs. It might just be, just me going out on a limb. It might just be Sony exclusives where they would have, it's like, hey, you need to provide us with a detailed walkthrough of how to beat each section, what the best gear is to have in these sections that you can get, that sort of deal. That way they can train people on it. And it could be like, okay, we've got our, God of War, Ragnarok people. We've got our Horizon
Zero Dawn people.
Yeah, like you just have like certain people that are knowledgeable on it, and it's like, okay, that that could be a way to do it. There's a lot of interesting things.
How weird would it be if they did like, because it's not an exclusive, but they partner with them a lot on Fortnite. What if they did that and then like they got Ninja to like give out advice? That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. Like, I think that would be worth a lot of more money than they're willing to pay and everything. But
you saw how much money Microsoft forked over to have him come to Mixer for a while.
Yeah, made like over 90 million in 6 months.
Yeah,
because he didn't want to go over to Facebook.
Yeah,
which I don't. I wouldn't. If I was in his shoes, I wouldn't have went over to Facebook either. Yeah, Murdoch says now that makes sense. Talking about having like experts and having like only like exclusives, like it would be a lot easier, and it could be something that Sony offers to third parties, but they have to, third parties have to pay them or so. I don't know. I have no idea how it's going to work out. But let's move on. Speaking of third parties and Sony, Epic offered Sony $200 million for a handful of PlayStation Studio games as Epic Game Store exclusives.
Yeah. So this is intriguing because now we didn't cover it last week. And with all the other news this week, we didn't get a chance to talk about, that right now, Epic and Apple are in this like court war right now. And a lot of stuff's getting leaked because, when you're reviewing like conduct and all this kind of stuff, you have to pretty much let them see your books. And there's been a lot of interesting tidbits, like Microsoft looked at, the reviewed Last of Us 2 and see how it changed like the gaming industry, or well, not the industry, but pretty much like how it sets a precedent for game developers and game design and all this kind of stuff. And then, there were some interesting things about crossplay and all that. But, this is the most recent one from this week. As the trial between Epic Games and Apple continues, it is revealed that Epic offered Sony $200 million for 4 to 6 first-party titles, and it goes down to see like there was like a PowerPoint or like a document where it was like their tactics for like this, and it's like the first thing is like content. Sony first-party titles offer extended $200 million a game for 4 to 6 titles. They're awaiting feedback, and then they get to the Microsoft one, and they say, opening conversations, internal feedback said their PC Game Pass leader is against what we're doing. They are effectively bidding against us for content. And then Phil is meeting with Gabe at Valve occasionally. Gabe Newell at Valve.
Yeah.
And then for Nintendo, it says not started. It's a moonshot unto itself. Corporate history says it's a non-starter. So they've kind of like tried to pitch their tent with all three, but they pretty much figured, hey, Microsoft's doing their own thing. They're already kind of beating us at our own, or ahead of us in certain things. We're not. Maybe one day, but for right now, it's not in the cards. Nintendo, they do their own thing. They're already knocked out. Sony is like, hey, look, we're already partnered with them on a lot of stuff anyway. We give them a lot of like exclusives or like stuff on their consoles first. So they make the most sense to try and get something from them. And it's interesting, the 4 to 6, which means Sony has, and Jim Ryan and them have talked about it earlier this year, that they want to put more PC title, like their exclusives on PC. Because they have Death Stranding, Horizon, and then Days Gone comes out literally in 5 days on PC. So the 4 to 6 means it's like, all right, whenever you release it on PC, it'll come to Epic Games first. Yeah,
it does make sense that Epic would be kind of like their go-to. And it's also interesting, like, that this is coming out right around the same time, and this isn't a story. It would have been a story last week that Steam is getting sued because of
the monopolization.
Yeah, and you can definitely see it. Like
Sony is too. Sony is apparently in for like monopolizing games on their store too.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting because like you have Epic Games, which came out like a few years ago, and they kind of ham-fisted their way into it, especially with review titles and all of that. You can only play it on Epic, and it was just very weird. But you've had Origin, which is EA side of things, that has just not done really well. But then you have Steam, that is, they don't treat people well. Like they don't treat games well. They let anything go out. Like they don't really care. Like if you just pay, like it's on there. Like you get the green light for anything. But there are a lot of games on there. A lot of people, they do the sales, they do all of this, and Steam is pretty much a meme, but in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm curious to see what people's thoughts are down in the chat. Let us know, like, what are your thoughts about the three: Epic, Steam, Origin? Like, why do you prefer one over the other? All of them seem kind of like obtuse. Like Steam just looks awful. Like their whole like UI and everything just like is just ugh, in my opinion. Like it's kind of convoluted. But Epic offering Sony $200 million just to get exclusives. That's a lot of money. Yeah. But we talked about 2 weeks ago, PlayStation giving Epic a lot of money as well.
Oh yeah, like it's reciprocating. It's like, hey, look, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
And it just kind of reminds me, it's like these companies, like it's just pretty much just passing money. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like no one's really making anything. They just keep passing money back and forth. So
it's just digital transactions of non-existent money. It's okay.
Yeah. That's why you got to invest in Bitcoin. Invest in
or Dogecoin.
Oh yeah, the Doge. Moving on, Jim Ryan hopes that PS5 supply will improve later in 2021, but Sony warns that the supply issue could extend into 2022.
It kind of goes back to what we've been talking about over the last couple months, right? Like back in February, they said they were hopeful that stores would start getting them in June. And then all the stuff about how the chips are being made and, how supply is not getting any better. We'll get to a thing about Nintendo, but Nintendo's even suffering, console part shortages, and they're going to have trouble making their consoles down the road too. So it just kind of goes with it, because I remember, what was it, back in March, I want to say, there was like an article saying that experts didn't expect stores to get any product in until mid next year. And I thought they were talking about, like a plethora, like you can walk in any day, any day of the week, any time of the day, and you'll have a console to get at whatever store you walk into. But they're making it, now it's kind of getting more like, hey, we might not have consoles by the end of the year. Let's be honest. Now, I still think Sony and Microsoft will move heaven and earth to have at least some consoles, even if it's 5 per store. in stores for holiday season. I can't see them going the entire holiday season and just not, and like they're basically taking money out of their own pockets if they do.
Yeah, I agree. Like them getting consoles in is imperative because we've talked about it before. Like development for the last gen, talking about PlayStation 4, Xbox One, that side of
But
things.
Zach, I don't have a PS5, so it's not last gen.
Yeah, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply if you don't have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, those TikTok people, love them. But you know, it's like eventually, like things are going to have to shift. Like it's not always going to be around. Like it's not always going to be like this. I'm just curious to see how it's going to improve. You know, if it does improve, you know,
yeah. Well, and it's like you have like aunts, uncles, and grandparents come in, for Johnny or Susie, and they're wanting to buy the consoles, for them for Christmas. And, not everyone does online, and a lot of, especially as we've seen with scalpers, online's even worse to do than it was 2 years ago, right? It used to be easy. Now, granted, for other things, it's fine. But if you're trying to get a console online, may the odds be ever in your favor. You have a better chance of winning the Powerball than you do getting a console online these days. So, and I'm going to be frank, I could, if you put a gun to my head, I could see Sony basically like, hey, there's so much demand, because they even talk about it in the article. It's like, look, demand is so high for our consoles, we can't keep up. Like, yeah, we've sold almost 8 million, but it could have been a lot more, but we just have issues. I could see them doing online. It's like, hey, look, we'll do bundles online, but we can't promise any in stores. And I could see Microsoft undercutting them and be like, hey guys, we can get them in stores. It's okay.
Yeah, and that's going to hurt a lot of like brick and mortar stores. Like I'm thinking about, GameStop, Walmart, Target, like they do move units, and that does bring in a lot of revenue and everything. So I think, like we've definitely moved into more of a digital age with games. Even talking about Steam, we'll get back to that in just a second. We would see people commenting in the chat. But like, it used to be like, you don't want to bite the hand that feeds with like these brick and mortar stores. But now I think they could even get away with it because so many people buy their games either digitally or they get it online. They're buying it through, Amazon or getting it off of Walmart.com or GameStop.com, whatever it is. Like, it's not like it used to be where you had to go inside to buy something. So I definitely think, it's going to be interesting to see where we're going forward with this. And some news, I don't think you have it in here, but I was seeing that Sony is looking at actually redesigning the PS5. This is a rumor, redesigning the PS5 to change one of the components from a 5th model to a 6th model because it takes less to build it and it's more efficient or something. I don't know all the technical side of it.
And the only issue I'd have with that, right, is like, as long as it doesn't compromise any of the features that we already have in the PS5, I'm fine with that. Like, if it's basically just like more cost effective and you can, and pretty much you're buying it from someone who can churn it out faster to meet demand, that's fine. I am totally, but if you're saying it's going to sacrifice frame rate, resolution, load times, any of the core features that people love about the PS5, I'm not here for it, and I don't care. Like it's already crazy to see that. I know it's like it's not a true redesign, but it's already crazy to think we're barely a year in the PS5 life cycle and they're already thinking about redesigning it or like doing like a different like kind of SKU for it. But that's just how the world is right now. You got to kind of ebb and flow with what you're dealing with. So it makes sense, but I would caution, like, it's a rumor, obviously, but I would caution, it's like, if this is going to sacrifice horsepower behind it, because how many articles do you see a week about, like, certain games running, actually, even though the Series X is more powerful than the PS5, just by a tech spreadsheet side of things, that the PS5 version outperforms the Series X version. So if it's going to sacrifice in that sense, I don't want it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't want something that compromises the integrity of the system. Like if they want to make Xbox has, you know, the Series X and they have the Series S. If they want to have a different SKU that is a less powerful one, but keep the more powerful one, like they don't, you know, phase it out or whatever. But if they can prove that, hey, this new PlayStation, this redesign is going to allow us to make more of them. It's also going to be the same. It's going to run the same. It does exactly everything the same, but we're able to get the parts more readily available. Right. That's one thing. But if it's going to be less powerful, then they need to, you know, they'll be running 3 SKUs at that point, you know, with the disc base, the discless, and then the less powerful one. And if they do disc and discless on that and everything. So I'm just curious to see where they go with that. You know, we've got superconductors that were, you know, that are hard to get, which like cost $1, but you know, it's not just PlayStation and Xbox trying to get this. It's cell phones, it's computers, it's so many different things that like we're in a very interesting time right now. And I think we will catch up. It's just, you know, there's been a lot of stuff going on, guys.
Right, exactly.
Dan says, I still buy most of my games in store.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I bought a game in store. Like, I don't even remember.
I mean, if you want to get technical, I bought new Pokemon Snap for my nephew for his birthday that's coming up next week. But, you know, I don't know if I would count that as or not, but.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah. Like the last time I bought a game for me was the 3D All Stars because I stupidly forgot to buy it, digitally, and before the cutoff date. And so I'm just like, I called my boss. I'm like, do we still have physical ones? She's like, yeah. I'm like, save me one.
See, Derek, you even warned yourself 2 weeks in a row on this show, and you still messed up.
I know, and that's the ironic part of it, right?
Oh man, that's hilarious. Catch up with chat real quick. Going back to our discussion on Steam and all of that. Dan says Steam is the only one that I ever used. Person makes it very easy to use. Personally, it makes it very easy to use mods and for compatible games. Amy says Steam is confusing, but I've used Origin more. But Steam seems to be a go for most. And then Murdoch says I like Steam, but the UI update months ago I don't like. And then Murdoch says online all the way. Last store bought and only store collector's edition. So those GameStop insiders. Yeah, I know, the insider trading, guys. Insider trading.
No, I'm the same way, Murdoch. Like the last, if you want to be technical, before 3D All Stars, the last physical thing I bought was they're a month apart, so you can go in tandem. But I bought the Last of Us Part 2 Collector's Edition and the Ghost of Tsushima Legends Collector's Edition. So if it's a nice Collector's Edition, especially for an exclusive, I'll buy most of the time. But it's not, gone are the days where I just buy a Collector's Edition for any game I got. Man, Collector's Editions back in the day used to be so good. Now it's like you get a rubber band with the name on it. That's about it. You remember the Doom, not Eternal, but the Doom 2016 Collector's Edition? It was just a statue of one of the Revenant or one of the demons, and it lit up, and you got the game, and that was it. It was $100. I was like, this is a terrible Collector's Edition. You know, speaking of Collector's Edition, the one that hurts me the most, and you're going to feel it as well, is Batman Arkham Knight. When they got rid of the Batmobile, my lord, that was the end of Collector's Editions, guys. That was the end. Everything after that is no. To quote the man of the Batman v Superman, why did you say that name? Murdoch says, you remember the day it happened, right? Oh yeah, I called you and I ranted because it was like I had paid that thing off, and it was a week before launch, and it was like, what? Yeah, a week before launch. If it had been 2 months, that would be fine, but a week before launch, it's crazy. Murdoch is surprised you have the Ghost Collector's Edition, and he's asking what came with Ghost. It was the mask replica of his demon mask, and steelbook, and I think cloth map as well. of the in-game map. So, and there was probably a few other things I'm forgetting, but those were like the main ones.
Okay. Yeah, we'll let him show it after we get through the show, that people can see it and everything.
If I remember where I put it.
Yeah. Amy, I remember where I was. Let's move on, guys. We got a heaping helping of show still to go. I sent this to you earlier today. Sony unveils new DualSense colors with Midnight Black and Cosmic Red, set to release June 11th, and the prices are $69.99 and $74.99 respectively, not respectfully.
Yeah, maybe both.
Maybe it's like, hey, this is what the price is.
But it's ironic because they said a while back that new colors were coming supposedly, and then Microsoft, they've already. I was talking about this with my boss today. They have technically 6 controller colors now because they had black, white, and blue at launch. Then they put out the Pulse Red for Valentine's Day in February. And then they put out, at the end of April, they put out the Electric Volt, which is like the lime greenish yellow. And then they just recently, I think a week or so ago, put out the red camo one. And it's just like, Sony's just sitting here like, we still got our one white and black controller. We're all right. And so they finally dropped these today. And I'm glad that they're coming out next month. It's not something we have to wait later in the year for, because, they would be notorious about doing that. What was it, a year or two ago with like the berry blue and like the burnt orange. They announced them and it's like, oh, it'll come out in a couple months, and it's like, why not now? So I love the Cosmic Red personally. I shouldn't be surprised, but I am that it's $5 more than the original design schemes. But hey, I like the red. I'll splurge that extra $5 for it.
Yeah, when I saw the red, I was like, that looked good. Yeah. I was like, that looked good. Then
you saw the price and like, that doesn't look so good.
Well, I don't even have one. So the Midnight Black one looks great as well, but it's like the Cosmic Red, man, it's just like good looking.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and they always have the most eccentric names, right? Like, the berry blue, or like what was it? They've had some weird colors over the years, but and of course the names for the colors over the years, and it just keeps up with that theme. Yeah,
though I can't remember the name for the white controller that they had for the PlayStation 4, because like that wasn't like the normal.
You talking about the see-through one?
No, like it's like this, but it's white. I have it over there.
The Glacier White?
Yeah, Glacier White. Man, I love. Like I still
not white, Glacier White.
Glacier White. Still one of my favorite controllers, but I gotta play with the gold one, guys. You got the gold PS4, gotta play with the gold one.
Oh, and then like the titanium blue and the electric purple. I've got the electric purple one. That's nice.
It reminds me of the purple Game Boy.
Yes.
And
which, then brings back memories.
Then you had like the purple see-through.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm. I had lime green, a purple one, and a see-through one. Now, the only one that I owned was the lime green. I don't know how I got the other two. I really don't know. I have no idea.
I don't know.
I have no idea. I didn't steal them.
The world may never know.
They somehow like ended up in my collection.
Hey,
don't
how ask questions.
How kids like leave stuff and then they never ask for it when they come hang out and everything.
Yep.
It's like if I was a parent, I'd be like, boy, you better go get your Game Boy. Me coming up here asking me. I feel like these are paint color names they ripped off, says Amy.
Yeah.
Moving on to the most important story of the night, guys. Vita Store reportedly is set to stop releasing new games despite the store remaining open. And I think this is a mistake.
It's like they're like spitting in your face, Zach, is what I've come to. It's like they told you, it's like, look, Vita does not mean life to us anymore. We are closing down the store. Then all the fans got in an uproar and was like, Vita does mean life to us. It means something to me, dang it. And they saved, I won't say the petition saved it, but they went and spent oodles of money in the store. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we were wrong. Maybe we cut the cord too early. We're going to leave this go. And then they're like, you can have your store, but we're not putting anything new on it.
It's like having a beautiful cake set in front of you And you could look at that cake all day long, but you can never taste it.
Or worse, you walk by a window and see this beautiful cake and you want to buy it, but then they tell you, oh, that's just a mold display. That's not a real cake.
Yeah. I know games were still being developed for the Vita, so that's why it kind of is disconcerting to me.
Because, Colin and them over at Last Stand but they bought a new Vita kit, like more of an updated Vita developer kit, because they're putting out another game sometime this year for Vita. So what does that mean for them? Yeah.
So I know a lot of people that were developing for the Vita went over to the Switch and everything, but it's like the Vita is such a good platform, but I don't know. It's very interesting. I guess they don't want to deal with it. They just want it to be like, okay, we're not putting any resources into it. We can just make money from it, and that's it. So everybody that praised Jim Ryan a few weeks ago,
it was premature.
Yeah. Where's your hero now? You backed the wrong pony. Should have backed Shuhei Yoshida. Full of grace. Full of grace. An interesting story that I was just kind of like, what's going on here? What's going on here? Sunset Overdrive trademark reportedly filed by Sony with remaster of the first game and sequel reportedly coming along with other games to PS5.
This was like the most, like the day, because, Sony owns Insomniac, and Insomniac did Sunset Overdrive, which was an Xbox only. I think it's on PC now too, but it was at the time it was an Xbox exclusive. Fun game. You could argue one of, at least in the early stages, one of Microsoft's best exclusives. But when Sony bought Insomniac, everyone's like, oh, does that mean Sunset Overdrive is going to come? Does, blah, blah, blah. And Sony's like, we're not talking about that right now. Yeah. So, and that's it was just kind of, brushed off to the side. But now seeing this patent filed means that it could now, again, with patents, it could just be like, or, like a trademark file is like, oh, we could maybe go to this one day, but, sometimes it won't see the light of day. I think, because of how popular it was on Xbox, I think it would not behoove Sony to not do this. At least a remake of the first one, right? Like, I think you do the remake first, or like a port over, what have you, all the DLC, and see how big of a fan base it gestates on PlayStation. And if it does gangbusters, then you do the sequel. So, I think, because Sony's or Insomniac in general has let Resistance go by the wayside. They keep Ratchet and Clank going. They have Spider-Man in the works. I think they need one more to solidify their portfolio, and I think that's bringing back Sunset Overdrive.
I never got to play Sunset Overdrive. It always looks interesting, but I never pulled the trigger on it. So I feel like but I feel like, it's something that I need to jump into just to experience, and everything. But, them not going back to Resistance, you would think that they eventually would, but those controls are so sloppy, I don't care.
I know. Them and Uncharted, you did not care for those PS3 controls. I know.
No,
trust me.
Like the remaster of Uncharted helped a lot. One was still a little loose, but after that, like, it got better and better. 2 is a really good one.
And a lot of, the other games are talking about, like, it's some smaller titles, that they're thinking. But the interesting one that came up was a PS5 port of Dreams. It's called Dreams Plus, and apparently it's inevitable, because apparently, according to the document they saw, that it's going to be out end of July. Wow. So it's interesting that the fast turnaround doesn't, because a lot of the creation tools you can just carry over. But it's interesting to see that of all things that they could port over, they're going to do Dreams, like one of the not so best-selling games they put out over the last couple of years.
Well, it's like, we're going to try to get our money's worth out of this thing. We spent 10 years developing this.
We shoveled money into this fire pit for years, and we're going to make some kind of ROI.
Yeah. Alms for the poor.
Exactly.
Horizon Forbidden West still coming in 2021. When? 2021, they say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and this is just keeping pace, like, and so what was it? This Jason Schreier retweeted this caption, and then his above text was like, "Meanwhile, God of War." I think we all knew that it was God of War is gonna get pushed out of this year. It's just inevitable. Like it's been like if Forbidden West had come out the first half of this year, there's a small possibility that Ragnarok could have come out at the end of this year, but. Now that Horizon, they've confirmed that it's going to come out the second half of this year. So I think it's safe to say that they're not going to put those two close together. Like Ghost and Last of Us was just because they were two totally different games. They wanted to let each of them had a different audience, but they also wanted to get both out before the PS5 dropped. They wanted to make the money where they could. But now that the PS5's out in the wild, they're going to let Horizon and God of War breathe because they know they don't want to lose money on these two titans going head to head.
Yeah, like a PS5, I just had this thought. A PS5 is like Mew. Very rare.
Yeah.
Like very rare. You ain't gonna see Mew that much. Maybe not ever.
And if you find it, if you don't do something, if you don't have like some type of item that keeps it from running away, you'll miss it.
Yeah, you got to get that Master Ball. MasterCard.
Right. Go! And you just kind of flick it,
$1,000. I don't care. Give me that PS5. Oh, man. I'm glad that Horizon is still coming this year. Like, and I'm glad. Like, yes, I want to play Thor Ragnarok. I want to play God of War Ragnarok. Really. It was. I want to play it so bad, but I would rather wait a little bit longer and it just get better, and then jump into Horizon, get to go back into that world and enjoy it. So
my thing is, we haven't seen, because it was revealed a year ago, I want to say, or coming up on a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
We have not seen jack on that game since. Like, not even a teaser trailer. It's just we had that 3-minute long CG trailer talking about, like, showing the world, talking about Aloy's ventures. Nothing. Like, not even a hint of gameplay. They have to do something. Like, if it's coming this year, they have to show something. Like, I know they're not going to be at E3, but they could do their own thing. But we need to see some point in the next 2 months something from it, like an updated thing.
I think summer we're going to get a deep dive into it. Like they're going to go hard and ham on it, and then I'm thinking probably September, October release date for it, and that'd be good.
Then it'll get delayed till early next year. I'm kidding. Hopefully not, but do you think? Because they kind of did this, they've started doing this with their exclusives, like the State of Plays, right? Mm-hmm. Like they did one for Last of Us, then they did the next one for Ghost of Tsushima, the month later, and they just did one for Ratchet and Clank a couple weeks ago. So I think they're going to wait till closer to the release of Ratchet and Clank to probably like give a release date, show a new trailer, because I think they want to kind of do it around E3, like maybe not the week of, but. I think they want to get as close to Ratchet and Clank releasing, like, hey, by the way, if you're looking forward to this game, we've got another great exclusive coming for you. And then boom, mic drop.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's kind of their MO at the moment of how they're announcing things. So I like, hey, show me something good, don't rush it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. It's like, I just want good games. I don't want another, bad release for a good, a game that could be awesome. I want everybody's games to be awesome because there's a fan base for every game. There's a fan base for every game. So
even
I want
terrible ones.
Yeah. Even the ones that Derek likes,
What's that supposed to mean?
Moving on. PlayStation Studios has more than 25 games in development, nearly half of which are new IPs, according to Herman Holst.
So this is going back to what we talked about a few weeks ago, right? Like Sony's doubling down on major, like AAA, like huge investment exclusives. They're also partnering with, third-party exclusives. Like they're pretty much churning out their money. And now we're starting to see more and more every week that they're putting their money where their mouth is. and 25 games in development. That's a lot over. Like, they definitely don't have as many studios as Microsoft does, like, for sure. But I want to know how many of their studios are doing multiple projects at once, and half of which, like 12 or 13 of them, are new IP. That's insane, but also promising, meaning like, hey, we're not just going to like milk these new properties we have to death and just do sequel after sequel after sequel. We're going to put out some new blood too, because, you know, we talked about it with Naughty Dog a few weeks ago too. Like, they have a plethora of things in development, some that we're concerned about that they're already doing. Like, you know, they're doing a remake of the first one already. So they already have an outline for part 3. They're doing factions multiplayer, and supposedly maybe doing a new Uncharted game, but it's like, hey, we also have a new IP that we're doing too. So I'm excited because, you know, you have new IP like Quantum Break. I know it probably didn't sell well. I love the premise of that game. I loved everything about that game, like the timey powers. Like, I'm not into, like, I don't watch Doctor Who, any of the timey-wimey shows, but I always appreciate like that kind of concept, because it's like, let me see what idea you're spinning here. And I love Quantum Break. It was one of my favorite games the year it came out. So, and I love Horizons, arguably my favorite new IP. You know, Ghost is a very close second, but of the PS4 generation, Horizon and Ghost are my favorite new IP. So I love new things because it gives me a chance to find my new favorite thing.
Well, Ghost is definitely better, but anyway,
okay, fair enough. You know what? I'm not going to argue, because, you know, it's 1A, 1B, you know?
Yeah. Amy said the shade. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like a big oak tree of the gaming community. I just shade. Everyone can come under my shade, and I will shade you. But yeah, I'm curious to see how many of them, because we talked about Naughty Dog having multiple things going on. I wonder how many of those 25 games are coming from studios that are doing multiple projects at once. How many how far along are these 25, you know, new IPs and all of that, or the nearly half of which are new IPs and everything. I'm curious to see where that is. Are they just in the incubation period? Are they currently being developed? Are, you know, like,
because it doesn't say for PS5, it just says in development. So these could probably take until the next one. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So it's interesting. You know, I think a lot of that is just like PR spin, because things have been so dry at the launch of,
especially with the console shortage.
Yeah. So, you know, we're 57 minutes into the episode, and we just finished the PlayStation, dude.
Well, so, hopefully the next couple ones won't take as long. But the only other thing I wanted to say is, you know, like, Sony, you know, instead of buying up new studios, they've just been injecting more cash into their studios to like build bigger teams, because Naughty Dog has multiple teams. Guerrilla has multiple teams. God of War, Sony Santa Monica has multiple teams there, and you know, they're working. I've heard rumors they're doing new IP. We know Sony Bend's doing a new IP because Days Gone 2 got shafted, at least for now. But you know, like, it's going to be interesting to see what all comes with this, for sure.
Yeah. And where's Kojima in all of this? Where's he at?
He's probably turning traitor and going to Xbox, but you know,
it's not traitor, you know.
I know.
It's not traitor.
He's doing what he wants to. It's like we talked about. He's probably wanting to stretch his legs and enjoy his freedom from not being under one studio's thumb. So I can't blame him.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, let's move into our second news story.
Number 2.
You know, like we talked about a lot of news stories. We just have them like in big columns. So number 2, Yakuza to remain turn-based RPG, Judgment franchise to carry series action torch from now on. Lost Judgment has been announced and will release September 24th globally, and the studio's plans to plan future games to have simultaneously worldwide releases. I can talk.
So, I talk good.
We read.
No, yes, build a beautiful. But you know, it's kind of interesting because, you know, I forgot. What was it? A couple of weeks ago, Judgment actually got ported over to PS5 and Series X. I never got a chance to play it at launch. I've always been intrigued by it because it's still very Yakuza, but it's more of like private detective, like courtroom cases, like Yakuza and Ace Attorney had a baby sort of thing. But I appreciate the Yakuza games. It's pretty much like their Asian Grand Theft Auto, essentially, because you can do all the wacky side stuff while having an overarching story. But Like a Dragon came out last year, and it broke formula. It's not some action, like karate, like like martial art enthusiastic like Judgment is, and they say as much. That's going to be our action franchise going forward. But Yakuza Like a Dragon changed formulas, and it did well. Like there were so many positive reviews because I don't know how you are, Zach, but it takes a lot. Like of course, like the staples like Pokemon, and I know I played a little bit of the South Park turn-based RPG game.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Lord of the Rings: The Third Age was when I was hot and heavy into anything Lord of the Rings content I loved, and that was turn-based. But it takes a lot for me to get into turn-based, and I kind of want to try Like a Dragon. I think it's still on Game Pass. Not sure. But I'm willing to try it, but I don't know. It takes a lot for me to do a turn-based RPG. I'm not sure where you sit on that.
For me, I'm not that, like I don't shy away from turn-based. It's not like my bread and butter, but a lot of the games that were pretty big for me, like KOTOR, like that was turn-based. Dragon Age, like the first one was turn-based.
Yeah, good point.
And some of them like took me a while to like get into, just because like turn-based was not something that I necessarily grew up with.
Right.
Murdoch says no turn-based for me. But like Yakuza, I never really got into Yakuza. Like it never
either.
like it was just kind of like it was a little standoffish to me. Now, Sleeping Dogs, you were saying it's kind of like a GTA, like, an Eastern GTA. Sleeping Dogs, though, man, that game was dope.
No, that was definitely a cut and paste GTA, but in a good way. Like I'm not slandering it by no means, but that I wish they would go back to that. But Square Enix had unrealistic sales expectations for a new IP, but and it killed the franchise before it even got a chance to take off. But I digress. But and I think it's also like a turning of the tide for Yakuza, right? Because they had, I don't know like what other spin-offs they had, but at least from the numbered entries, they have 7 Yakuza games. Now with 6 that they put out a couple years ago, that wrapped up the main character whose name I forget at the moment. They wrapped up his story and he's done. So they figured, hey, let's bring in a new protagonist, but let's go bold. Let's inject some new life into this franchise and just go different, just to see if it hits for us, and do turn-based style. And I know a lot of people were probably like weird. It's like, oh, this isn't my Yakuza, but it came out and it found an audience and it was still beloved. And I think it's going to be this, like as they see, that's going to be their staple going forward, which is great. You every once in a while, companies that have like a treasured project, you owe it to yourself to do something different every now and then. If it doesn't hit, great. If it does hit, you have more money coming to you now. But Judgment, it's going to be interesting. Like Lost Judgment, it's and it should have clicked with me, right? Because they had that PS5 and Series X port a couple weeks ago, and they announced the sequel, and it's like, all right, this is why you did it. So it intrigues me. I want to check it out, but it being a global launch, like worldwide, simultaneous, is huge for Japan, because they usually always do staggered releases. And it's even caused like I didn't put it down here, but Sega's now even looking into, like with Atlas, like telling them like, hey, since they're our biggest competitor right now, Ryoga Kotoko Studios, we want you guys to kind of explore and experiment with global worldwide releases as well. So this is probably going to create some competition and get it to where everyone plays it, because I know the Persona games are notorious for releasing like 6 months to a year in Asia before it hits the States. So I think that'll be a win for all people who love Japanese games.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Like, I'm glad to see, like them going to that worldwide release. That's big for, like you were saying, the Japanese companies, because it seems like it's a lot harder for them because they don't have as big of a backing compared to like a US based corporation and everything. So I'm excited for it. To catch up with chat real quick, Brandon says he loves Sleeping Dogs and it focused more on fighting rather than guns in GTA. Yeah, I loved Sleeping Dogs. It was so good. Just an interesting take on the genre, and the fighting was just so good. Like, I would love to go back and play it. I don't think I didn't finish it, but I got like pretty far into it, and I was like, I'm really digging this. But yeah, it's great. If y'all haven't checked it out, Sleeping Dogs, totally should.
you're wrong myself real quick because this popped in my head. Ryoga Kotoka Studios is not a competitor. Sega owns them. So rather it's more of an internal thing. It's like, hey, these guys, they went to Atlas and it's like, hey, the same studio that's under our umbrella, they can do it. We need you guys to do it too. So, but still, they're trying to figure out to where they make a lot of money all at one time, and everyone wins. Like any fans of the series can win. So, yeah, I corrected myself, guys.
All right, guys, let's move into some Resident Evil news. Resident Evil Village has eased up on the tension curve after feedback suggested Resident Evil 7 was too scary. A producer of the game had this to say about the game in a recent interview with Axios Gaming. When we developed a new Resident Evil game, our goal is not always to make it scarier than the previous title, but to find a balance to deliver a scary but fun experience for the players. Some of the feedback we received regarding RE7 was that it was too scary to play. In one regard, that's exactly what we were striving for, so it's a huge compliment for us. But at the same time, it's always our goal to create something that anybody can feel comfortable jumping in and playing. So we eased up on the tension curve in RE Village relative to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard so that players aren't in constant fear. And just to put it out here, I played RE7 and it was scary all the time. Yeah. Like it was just like heart pumping, heart thumping, like just all the time.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of people have been digging RE Village though.
Oh yeah. And apparently like I know when we saw the first unveiling trailer, it would look rough to both of us, you know, and it's like, you need to polish this up, and which they did, because that's one of the staples in all reviews I've seen for it is like graphically it looks fantastic, you know, and the atmosphere looks haunting, and you know they're there for it. This kind of rubs me two different ways, right? Like it rubs me in the way that like they're cool, like people with either like heart conditions or whatnot, or like anxiety that can't take a lot of fear. You know, they eased up on the tension. Cool, because that way it's more accessible for people, for a lot more people to play it. It also kind of rubs me the wrong way because that's why they had to take a break from Resident Evil for a while and like reinvent the franchise with 7, because 5 and 6 got too action oriented and went away from the survival horror of it. Because eased up on the tension, when you say a survival horror game, what do you think it means? It means you're going to be scared out of your freaking mind. Like, it kind of is like, right, it's kind of like Sekiro. It's like, oh, we didn't know From Software makes hard games. Did you not see anything on the previous? Did you not see Dark Souls? But it is more of an accessibility thing. I get that. And plus, you know, because you said 7 was scary all the time, and that's what people wanted. People wanted to get more to its roots, but maybe they went a little too far with some of their stuff in 7. It's like, all right, we want to balance it just a tad bit, not go more action-y, but go a little bit more to where the tension is still there, but it's not up to 12 all the time.
Yeah, and I'm glad that, you know, like they're taking those things into consideration. Like, and again, you know, like comparing Outlast to, you know, Resident Evil, like they're two different things.
100%.
Outlast is just I can't stand Outlast.
You actually did stuff in Resident Evil other than just run in Outlast. You know,
like I finished Resident Evil 7. I didn't finish either of the Outlast, but like I understand where you're coming from.
You didn't finish 2 for a very understanding reason.
Yeah, 2 was a totally different reason. But you know, with RE7 and everything, like I can see bringing it back a little bit to be able to like explore the world more, because there's more exploration in Village than there was 7. Yeah. There was a lot of things to find and everything, but it seems like it's more open compared to Village or 7, where it was just you're at this mansion and that's it. You know, so there's a little bit more to it than what we got in the previous game and everything.
I think a better thing to do would be like, you know how all these games are getting more like accessibility features, right? Is make that more of like a feature in the game rather than just like take it in, like just make it a permanent staple in the game. Like, hey, if you have like the heart condition, or you don't really like getting your anxiety up, or like just whatever, if you want to just play it, have a little bit more fun with it, not be like scared all the time or like have it tense all the time, there's a feature for that, you know, like don't just like permanently do that in the game, you know. I think that would have gone over better for me anyway, you know.
Yeah, and I understand where they're coming from. They're wanting more people to play it, not to, but it's like you're
Right.
wanting people to jump in and feel comfortable. Like this game is not like meant to feel comfortable. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, right. Right.
that sort of deal. Shout out to Brandon. Thank you for the 1,500 bits, man. Thank you so much for the biddies, them blessed bits coming in. Thank you.
Full of grace.
Yes, they're full. Shuhei smiles upon you, Brandon. Some more RE Village news. RE Village has shipped over 3 million. I almost said 300 million. That would be crazy. 3 million copies of the game.
Yeah. And then, of course, the other one is like, it's interesting because the mocap they did for that was at Santa Monica Studio for Sony. And that's so, shipped 3 million. And then, there was an article, I think, end of last week, beginning of this week, where it's like, Resident Evil and Monster Hunter have made buku-doodles of money for Capcom. So, and obviously they found a formula, like with Monster Hunter World, that just pretty much set that Monster Hunter franchise in a new path. So like how New Horizons set Animal Crossing in a different light. Monster Hunter World arguably made it more mainstream now for that franchise. And with Resident Evil, like redoing it, sort of like Devil May Cry 5, right? Because people were like with Resident Evil 6, people were just burnt out and they were not, and the way they did like Devil May Cry 4 and RE6 weren't what the fans of the franchise loved about it. And so they took their time, they took some time off, and it's like, all right, boom, here it is, like redone, new formula, new things about it, and people loved it. It breathed new life into that franchise. And now I think Capcom has found a formula for themselves to take them out of, they've been out of the Crapcom moniker for a while, but now with these, I think they've pretty much cemented themselves as like more of a respectable company now.
Yeah, it's not just turning over games year after year, just trying to grab money and everything. Yeah, and like you see it with the remakes for Resident Evil, and then Monster Hunter World, and now we've got the new Monster Hunter for Switch that's doing really great. Like, like you see when you put quality first, like people enjoy that, people love that, and I'm glad for them. Like I'm glad that they're doing well. That it's not like like I think about Sega, like every now and then, like the conversation of will Nintendo, before the Switch came out, will Nintendo turn into the next Sega and everything? And Capcom, it was like, is Capcom going to be the next? I lost my train. Who's the company that like went under that developed Darksiders and all of that?
THQ.
Like, is Capcom going to be the next THQ? That sort of deal. Those are conversations that, we would have and everything, but it's like now we're seeing like Resident Evil 7 sold gangbusters.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And, that trend's
so
continuing.
Did Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yep. So, like, I'm glad for them. I'm excited for them. And the mocap being done at Santa Monica is pretty interesting.
Because it's like, why there? And maybe I don't know.
That would be really interesting if Sony bought Capcom.
Oh my god. I mean, they didn't buy him, but Kojima worked with Sony because he loved the Decima engine from Horizon. So, and he put Death Stranding first on PlayStation. So maybe not buy Capcom, but maybe the next game they do will be Sony exclusive.
Maybe. All right, guys, let's get into the title of the video this week. We got some Ubisoft news, some pretty big Ubisoft news. First up, Ubisoft to brand internally developed games as Ubisoft Originals. Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake to release before April of 2022. And praise the good Lord, they are going to take time on this game and actually make it worth playing. I remember when I remember we watched like the announcement and I'm like, this looks awful. This looks like
worse than the first game.
It's like, this looks bad. Like, but I'm glad to see that they're going to take their time. Murdoch's going to be happy about this. He talks about this all the time. Skull and Bones is delayed again. Well, maybe not. I didn't read that. I just saw Skull and Bones.
I'd say a dot.
Skull and Bones delayed again, planned for fiscal year of April 2022 to March 2023. Murdoch, gosh dang it. But you know, it's still being developed. That's what that tells me. Like, it's still being developed. Because like we haven't heard anything about Skull and Bones for a very long time. So at least
E3 2018, I want to say, you know, E3, I think 2017, 2018 was when they showed like the first, like the third person, like the person, like the shipmate walking outside the ship, and you can customize the mast and the helm and all that kind of stuff. So it's been interesting. It's been a very like development hell type thing for this game, and makes me wonder if it's going to be like a No Man's Sky, or if it's going to be like what's it going to be, because you know it's fate, like, because I've heard like rumblings like, oh, like one of the lead directors like left the studio for reasons, or like the development is just like not going as well as planned. So I don't know, I've heard different things with that. Nothing really confirmed about this, but it would speak to why this game keeps getting delayed year over year. It's like a running joke, because I remember when Skull and Bones like stuff outside the ship was being shown, like one of my manager at the time said, yeah, this beats Sea of Thieves out the water easily. And then Sea of Thieves came, and now arguably it's a lot better than it used to be, and now Skull and Bones is just like an afterthought.
Yeah, like you know, Amy, the false hope you just created. Sorry, buddy. Murdoch, Skull and Bones better be good.
Right. Better do gangbusters. But you know, going back to one of the earlier points, you said Ubisoft brands internally developed games as Ubisoft Originals. With the exception of like the occasional mashup like Mario and Rabbids, aren't most games developed by Ubisoft internal? Like, I don't understand their thought process behind this. Like, maybe just take more of like ownership of their franchise to let them know it's like, hey, Division, Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, you know, Far Cry. Most of the games that we make ourselves anyway are done by us. And it's like, I guess it's just like a mindshare type thing for fans, but it's like, you very rarely outsource or do like collab projects with other people. Like, why it's weird to waste money on this.
I think instead of like having, you know, Ubisoft Montreal or London, I don't know if they have a Montreal, I don't remember. I know EA
they have a Montreal.
Okay. You know, instead of like doing that, it might just be like, okay, we're all Ubisoft now. We're all, you know, all part of the ship, part of the crew. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean, how about this? The only time their studios took precedence is like what you know, when Assassin's Creed comes out, it's like, oh, this studio is helming this Assassin's Creed, but you would just see that opening line, but it would just be a Ubisoft game. Like, no one ever said like a Ubisoft Montreal game. You know what I mean? Like, that was kind of never a big thing to begin with. And plus, like, when they do the next Assassin's Creed, they're saying, oh, it's done by this studio in this location. Like, they're still going to do that. So I don't know. It's one of those things like, cool, but it wasn't necessary. You know what I mean?
I think it's just marketing stuff. It's just
to
point.
It's mindshare.
Point things in different directions from other things that they don't want to talk about.
Right.
Like Skull and Bones.
Yeah. But speaking of games that we do want to talk about.
Yep. Ubisoft reveals The Division Heartland will be a free-to-play game and set to release sometime in the fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
And we can go ahead and wrap up the last point because this kind of ties in with it too.
And Ubisoft is moving to release free-to-play titles, but won't abandon AAA franchises. Right.
And this is a huge thing. This is like a huge step. Like, like it was interesting seeing this playing out because it was first Division Heartland, which more Division for me. Like, I need to go back and finish 2, but Division Heartland, like, more Division for me is great. And it feels like very like Miles Morales, like a stepping stone to the next big one they're going to do. Like, obviously we haven't seen a trailer, haven't seen any kind of concept other than like a water tower. So we don't know how big a scope this game is going to be. It could be technically the third one. Who knows? Yeah. I don't know, but we'll see the scope. This kind of feels like more, from the way they're describing it, it feels like more of like a Miles Morales, like half step to me. But hey, more Division is good for me. And then it kind of developed to where it's like, oh, you know, this whole free-to-play shift it came out, and they were like, oh, we're only going to do this. And Ubisoft's like, no. we're still doing big franchises like Far Cry 6, like Rainbow Six Quarantine, like whatever the next Assassin's Creed's going to be. We're just going to scale back how many huge AAA projects we're going to put out over the year, and instead bolster up our free to play and give our fans something to play while we're putting more time, effort, and love into the big ones. Because that was a knock a couple of years ago when they put out Division 2 and what was the other big game they put? It was something else that year. And Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Oh god.
And on the investors call, they reamed Eve's Game and it was like, why do you continue to do this crap? Why do you put out sequels in the middle of a console generation switch, and you just pretty much rush the sequels, put them out, and they don't make us much money? Why do you keep doing that? And Eve said, all right, let's scale everything back. Let's delay everything we have. Let's make it better, because, they have multiple projects, of course, the yearly Just Dance, Rainbow Six Quarantine, Riders Republic, that weird dirt bike game that they have, and of course Skull and Bones. But it's quality, not quantity, is what Ubisoft is going toward. But they're going to also bolster it and still make money because let's be honest. I don't want to say their vision on live services ended, but because the free to play can mean live service as well. But them going free to play means, hey, look. People are tired of us spending more money after spending $60 or $70 on this game. Let's make it free to play, but still make them spend money. It's just a way to bolster that revenue.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it gets people in. There's no barrier to entry there. It's like, oh, it's free to play, but for you to experience the whole thing, you gotta, buy this, that, and the other, and you just nickel and dime people because people don't really think about, okay, well, I gotta buy this, $2 thing, and I gotta buy this little $3 thing, and then that adds up, and you've spent over the $70 just to be able to play it,
Yeah.
And that happens every quarter or whatever. They got a new season, whatever it is. Like there's constantly, and you're constantly buying more and more stuff compared to a normal game where you buy, $60, and then that's the only thing you purchase.
Yeah.
So like the smaller amounts like definitely add up over time and everything. I find it very interesting. I'm curious to see how they bring it in, like what franchises they're going to put into the free to play.
Which is what I was gonna ask you like a couple questions. Like one, what was your overall thought on their it's not really a switch, but they're basically like a new mindset for their type of games that they're going to do with this free to play model.
I think it fits more with the model of a lot of things right now. You look at the success of Fortnite, Warzone, Apex, like all of those are free to play games, but they make money hand over fist every month. So, it's like, okay, will we see the ability to do this from these other companies? What can we do that makes sense that is free to play while still being able to make other games that are, AAA? Because like Assassin's Creed would not work in this model. Assassin's Creed would not work at all. But a Ghost Recon that would work. A Rainbow Six Siege would work.
And that was going to be my next question too, is like, do you think they implement this for every one of their franchises? Because for me, like you said, Assassin's Creed, with the way they're doing the games now, I don't think that works. Like now because it's heavier on the loot side, maybe they have an outside shot, but you can't I don't think it works in the grand scheme of things. No. But I do think Tom Clancy's like the Tom Clancy games, I think this will work for them because of how the style of all, like at least the major ones, like Splinter Cell is the forgotten fourth one. Like they're the redheaded stepchild. Like I know they keep telling us they're working on it, but we haven't seen hide nor hair of that for a decade now, or just about. But with Ghost Recon and Division, especially since they're more like squad based, I could see that working. Far Cry is the one where like it could work, but I could also see them not wanting to do it that way.
Like Far Cry is one of their bigger games, so I don't see them doing that. Definitely, Siege, Ghost Recon, like I definitely see those. I'm trying to think.
Maybe we get a new Rayman free to play through this.
Yeah, I could see something like that. Rabbids, like they could do that free to play. Bring people in, bring kids in. I'm just curious to see where this goes, and I like it. It won't work for every one of them.
Oh no.
To catch up with chat real quick, and you can be part of the chat, guys, just watch us live over on twitch.tv/Nerd Network when we do the show live, and you can be part of the show. Murdoch says, FYI, Ubisoft Singapore is stating that Skull and Bones is their biggest game ever.
Oh, I mean, yeah, because I mean, Ubisoft has like a bajillion studios under their umbrella. So, and a lot of them are like collab studios that just help with other like the bigger ones. So I can't be honest to say that I know what Ubisoft Singapore has done in the past, but I can believe this is their biggest game to date, and I know they want to get it right because, especially now with how Sea of Thieves has like come up and like done a lot better than it did at launch. Because I know we all agree, you and me especially, like that game was barren as all mess on launch day. So I think they want to make sure that they have a lot of content and want to do it right for something like this, because it's not a lot of ship battle games, especially like multiplayer like pirate ship battle games. Like the closest one you can get to is Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but that was even like, that's more of like a story with multiplayer than it is multiplayer. So I think they have to do this right. Brandon was saying, what was it? Like he likes Division 1 over 2. I kind of like the mechanics of Division 2 more than 1, but I can kind of agree. Like 1 had that special story because it gave a different like story setting and like plot behind it.
Yeah.
He goes on to say that the Heartland game, they will be releasing it on mobile platforms, which I did remember reading that. So that's a good catch. Thank you for that. Which is going to be interesting how they do that via mobile, because you think of COD mobile, you think of Fortnite mobile, PUBG mobile, and it's like, it's not the same as on console. Like, it's great for those people who want to play it on the go, but not the same.
Dude, Singapore, they have made a ton of games for Ubisoft.
Really?
So here's what Singapore...
Ubisoft's been around for a while, so I'm sure they've done a lot, but go ahead.
Here's what they've made. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Skull and Bones, which they're working on right now, Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Unity, Rogue, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Phantoms, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Assassin's Creed 3, Revelations, Brotherhood, and Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands.
So a lot of those are collab because with Odyssey, with Valhalla, it was the Origin Studio Montreal. With Odyssey, it was Quebec. But they've helped collab on a lot of this. But I think they did do, if memory serves, they did solo Rogue, because that was the same year that Unity came out.
Yeah, that's right.
And so yeah, but no, that pedigree is like, they've worked on a lot of huge studios. So Skull and Bones is like their own like love child type thing. So I mean, so they know how to. So they worked with enough studios that have made huge games to have an idea for themselves.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like, I was like, how could they? Like, the collab makes way more sense. I was like, how in the world are they churning out Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Immortals in the same year, and then the year before do a remaster of 3, and the year before that do Odyssey, which was ridiculously big, and then Origins before that? I'm like, how are they doing this? I was like, they must have an army of developers.
No, like I said, I think Ubisoft has at least 20 different studios under their umbrella, but most of them are just like support studios for like the big ones like Montreal, Quebec, Singapore, to help out with their games that they're making. So I'm sure, but it's all like a revolving, it's like pretty much like a round robin. Like they pretty much just send people, it's like, hey, are you working on anything right now? Cool. Let me send you this thing for Immortals, or let me send you this thing for Valhalla. Help me work on this right now. So I'm sure a lot of it's just like QA and quality control. But yeah, like Ubisoft pretty much says, all right, this one studio is the lead and like over the story, plot, and all this, but everyone else, it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, I'll list out the various cities that have a studio in them: San Francisco, Atlanta, Cary, Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, Halifax, and in Europe, oh man, there's a ton of them. Newcastle, Leamington, London, Paris, Lyon, Bordeaux, Annecy, Montpellier, Barcelona, Mons, Düsseldorf, Berlin, Malamo, Belgrade, Sofia, Bucharest, Odessa.
Bucharest.
Oh, yeah, that too. Kyiv, Stockholm, Helsinki, Abu Dhabi, Pune, Shidungu. I don't know how to say that one. Singapore, Philippines, Shanghai, Osaka. Yeah, those are all of them.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like I said, a ton of studios, and only a handful of them you actually hear lead develop projects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's ridiculous.
I know. Like I said, like Ubisoft is a huge company, and yet, you know, they churn out a lot of mediocre games from time to time.
Yeah, I think they've gotten a little bit better. Hopefully, sometimes hit or miss. You know, let's move on. We're knee deep in this thing. Let's finish out the big last story of the show. Switch nears 85 million consoles sold, but can't physically make enough right now, and that might continue on.
Yep, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the 85 million. Like, yeah, great, but that might slow down a lot over the next year or so, or however long this takes. Because, you know, in the Q&A, and I got an article that says in the Q&A with investors, company president Shuntaro Furukawa explained demand for hardware continues to exceed our expectations even after the beginning of this calendar year, and production has currently not caught up with this high demand due to the tight supply and demand situation for semiconductor materials worldwide. You know, semiconductors are used in almost all computer devices, blah, 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 blah. He goes on to say, although we are currently striving to produce as many units as possible, the fact is that our production plans are most uncertain that they were at the beginning of the previous fiscal years. Our full year sales plan is based on the premise that we can secure the materials necessary for production. But if we are able to produce more units, we will work hard to meet strong demand and be able to ship and sell those units. That says to me, they are about to be in the same boat as Microsoft and Sony.
Yeah.
And that's sad because they were leading the charge. Like, they were the best selling console last year. I think they were the best selling console the year before that. Or at least up there, you know?
Yeah.
But it's sad. Like, they're about to, and when I mean fall flat on their face hard, it's for stuff that's outside their control. Like, they didn't like just basically like, oops, we screwed up, guys, like egg on their face. But this is, I don't know. It's about to, like I said a while back when this first leaked about semiconductors being in a shortage for them, we're going to go from a year where everyone was able to game at home during the pandemic to now no one can game.
Yeah, and I think it's more of like no one new can like get consoles or whatever.
Yeah,
like I think
exactly.
I like, you know, just thinking PlayStation numbers, you know, over 100 million sold. You know, Switch is now 85 million. Like, that's a lot. You know, Xbox probably 10 out there in the wild. Only 10 Xboxes ever sold, guys. They don't tell their numbers, so we're making it up. But you know, like we understand, like, it's like there's a ton of consoles out there, but you know, like, because of what's going on, it might get a little harder to find consoles, you know, on all side of things.
Yeah.
Murdoch says, better start finding another resource for semiconductors. Yeah, I can think we need to figure some of those things out. Like I said early on when this first came out, like if I was Xbox, Microsoft, Nintendo, I would be buying a plant that makes semiconductors, and it would be just for me. Like, I would not let anyone like come in between me and making what needs to happen. It'd be done. I don't care if it's, you know, $300 million and I got to buy a plant. Let's do it.
Right.
I do it.
So
in a heartbeat.
if it means, I mean, the ROI will sell itself once they're able to get consoles out to people, you know?
Yeah. Murdoch says, I mean, like, we need to science a replacement. We need to science a replacement for semiconductors, like some new form of semiconductor. Okay. Yeah, I got you. Like, there needs to be a development in this area that we're not dependent on one little piece of technology.
Like Iron Man 2, make a new element.
Yep. All right, guys, we are done with the big stories of the week. Next, we're going to
done just yet.
We're not done yet. Derek's got to get the speed punch bag out. He's got to get loosened up, guys. And while Derek gets loosened up, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that follow. Make sure to hit the subscribe, all those good things if wherever you're watching. And you can go over to support us on patreon.com/nerdcave. Become a patron and be awesome. So, Derek, are you ready? Are you loosened up?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
All right,
let's
Derek.
go. All right, so to start off with, Konami
you gotta
confirmed.
start off with the quick hits. We didn't even intro it. You just jumped into it.
Okay, so starting with the quick hits, Konami confirms it won't be participating at E3. Shocking, but not shocking. Fall Guys delayed out of summer for Xbox One and Switch, but we'll have crossplay now. Great thing, and like I said, PS4 and PC crossplay is out now, and it'll come to when the other console versions launch. Rocket League next gen versions planned by Epic alongside crossplay and cross progression. Gamescom will be an all-digital event for 2021. PS5 Game Boost features gets its own logo. That's reminiscent of when Xbox, said, what was it for Xbox One X? Xbox One X Enhanced. That's what comes to mind with that. Interesting one, Super Mega Baseball developer Metalhead acquired by EA. It's almost like if EA is wanting to expand and get in the baseball market themselves. Bandai Namco, Sega, Square Enix, Xseed, and Gearbox confirmed to be at E3 2021, so the list gets ever expanding. One for you, Zach, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, coming to Switch June 25th.
Whoop.
World of Warcraft Burning Crusade Classic out June 1st. That is super soon. I didn't think it was ready that way. World of Warcraft always seems like a September release, but hey, the earlier the better for people. YouTube TV is out now for PlayStation 5. Metro Exodus Complete Edition coming to PS5 and Xbox Series X and S on June 18th. Great game, great franchise, underrated. Check it out. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is console exclusive to PS5 for, quote, at least 6 months. DualSense support added to Remote Play on iOS. Sony's Days of Play returning on May 18th. That's next week. Is it 18th or it's sometime toward the end of the month. I meant to fact check the 18th, but anyway, Beast Boy joining Fortnite this week. And that's Raven's already on there, or coming to Fortnite as well. EA Play Live returns July 22nd with announcements and reveals. Really late. This reminds me of Summer Games Fest where everything was spread out. So EA is like, look, everything's crowded in June. We'll take July. Battlefield 6 reveal coming next month, confirmed for PS4 and Xbox One, with a planned release between October and December of this year. QuakeCon returns as digital-only event on August 19th through the 21st. Original Xbox dashboard now available on Xbox Series X and S. It came with the most recent update, I think. Gears Studio The Coalition moving to Unreal Engine 5, which is interesting. New Halo Infinite trailer could drop, quote, soon. Overwatch 2 PvP to be showcased in 2-hour live stream on May 20th. That is next Thursday. And that's another one for you, Zach.
So I'm excited about the Overwatch PvP. We might have to cover that live. I'm just saying, if you can't cover it live, Zach be covering it live. The other thing, just to real quick fact check you on Days of Play, it is on the 18th, and it will be split into 3-week long stages. So, just wanted to confirm that with you. And Gears going to Unreal 5.
Yeah. That if we hadn't had so much to cover already, I would have made that a news story. But yeah, that's still huge.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I'm wondering, if they're going to Unreal 5, have they even started the next Gears?
Probably not.
That's what that makes me feel like.
Well, they keep doing the operations. They're pretty much elongating the tail of Gears 5 with the multiplayer. So I'm sure they're going to use this time to move all the assets over to Unreal Engine. Probably do because it's got the features, like the HD features for Series X and S, but there's not a true Series X and S version of Gears 5. So I could see that being a relaunch for that. It's hey, here it is running on the new engine, just sort of like a port. But that was a big thing to see. What was the other one I saw? But yeah, the Super Mega Baseball, like it's big in the sense of like EA, like the last, Super Mega Baseball is like a niche studio and it's a smaller studio. So it's interesting to see EA buy it. Like, I wonder if they're going to try and put more money into this. But they've done hockey, football. They try and do basketball every blue moon, but then soccer or football in Europe.
Golf.
So
golf.
Yeah. Oh yeah, golf too.
Golf.
They're bringing back the golf and they're bringing back college football. So they're probably doing it as like, hey, let's try and do baseball, because I can't remember the last time I've seen an EA baseball game. Like 2K did a baseball game before, a while back. That's not named Sony, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. Hopefully they don't ruin it like they do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like doing all the sports. They want to be in the game.
Yep, EA Sports. It's in the game.
Man, that was always a good intro.
It
EA
was,
Sports,
especially for NCAA.
Oh yeah.
It got you ready.
Oh yeah, and then you just whoop right, honey. Oh. All right, guys. Well, there is our show this week. We hope that you have enjoyed it. Make sure to hit that like. Make sure to hit that follow if you're watching us on the replay, or if you're over on any of the other places. If you're watching live, stay tuned, because we got more stuff coming. But guys, thanks to everyone that went over to patreon.com/nerdcave and supported us. Brandon Hicks, Richard Newell, Daniel Sanford, Rushing Waters Yoga, Conductor, Marilyn James Martin Sager, and Brittany, the Granny B. Harrison. Lionel Lennon Lemon. It's been a pleasure,
I was
man.
going to say my name. It's always a pleasure, my friend. So I'm glad we got to do, hopefully, and spoiler alert, guys, I'm off next Thursday from work, so we could probably do another Thursday night stream if we want to.
Hey, there we go. There we go, guys. There you go. It's confirmed. Thursday, we got it in the books, guys. Thank you again, everyone. This has been Zach.
And Lionel Lennon Lemon.
Y'all have a blessed week. Bye.